Hey, aloha everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com, and I am here on Maui, August 8th, 1 year anniversary after the Maui fire. And I'm here with two amazing locals, Christy and Shelby. And we got some stories to tell about what has been going down with this year with Maui, but also my biggest thing is to talk about the people who have transitioned on during the fire. Christy was sharing with me some things, and I said, we got to get this on video. So I just want to welcome you guys and say thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for speaking the truth and everything that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's needed to be known. So where do we start? What do you guys want to share with people around what has been going on this year with Maui, with the Lahaina? A lot of things. We had a dinner last night with one of the locals who was in Lahaina. She said that she is getting a permit to rebuild, which is awesome. But there's also so many different questions with the fire. And we were talking about the death count. Let's just start with that, and you can just share the things that you were sharing earlier and go with that.
Okay. Well, first I'd like to set intentions and prayers to all the people of Lahaina that have lost someone, or families that have been lost that are uncounted. I think today, as the memorial, it's a hard one for me. I was there that day on August 8th last year, and I luckily escaped unharmed off Front Street. But I worked in Lahaina for many years, lived there for many years, and have a strong belief that that the death toll is unfounded, BS, lies, disgusting. And it's hard for me to watch everybody go and put it to bed today, in some sense, have basically the next chapter I think today feels like the next chapter, and closing the book on the new start of what Lahaina will be in the future, and putting it in the past so that people can move forward. And it's not about the timeline, it's about the truth, and the truth does just not feel like it's the truth. I know personally from people that are first-hand accounts that the excavating and cleanup process has uncovered many bodies. Not one has been counted. None of the body counts are truthful, from the ocean to the land. And I think if that came out, then I feel like we'd have something to sit with in our hearts that would magnitude a greater awareness of what's really going on here.
I truly feel that this is a part of the psychological experiment that they have conducted to see if the population, the local population, will realize or believe that thousands of people potentially perished, which is what I do believe. The census in Lahaina being 13,000 is just completely incorrect when we start talking about migrant workers and people that are not counted on the census. It's a stark reality that people don't want to talk about, that in many of these neighborhoods, people were living 20 to 30 people in a household because they were, multi-generational migrant families. And what happened to those people? It's an actual statistical impossibility that in these neighborhoods that were gridlocked, that they all escaped when there was no sirens, no warnings. And like my mom was saying, we know people that have been part and conducted in these cleanups. And what happened, it was the military and the Coast Guard came in and said that they have to sign NDAs.
Non-disclosure.
A non-disclosure agreement to be part of a cleanup process, which is, that's never happened.
When does that happen?
Did that happen during Hurricane Katrina or any other natural disaster? And I think that part of the experiment is to convince people that the authority figure, whether it's the FBI or the state of Hawaii or these government officials, They claim that the count is 102, and the authority figure is correct, and how dare we challenge authority. And if you do, you are a conspiracy theorist. You are not in your right mind. You are trying to cause trouble. You don't want people to move on. You are being inconsiderate and uncompassionate.
Yeah.
When really it's, I would say, the latter. What about the thousands of people that have no justice? We don't know their names. We know nothing about them. What about the children? There is so many children still missing, but no one wants to talk about that because it's not politically correct, or that's not allowed. We're not allowed to even mention it. How dare you? You know, there's not families screaming, you know, where's the aunties, where's the uncles, where's the rest of the family? Wouldn't they know that the children are missing? The whole family is dead, and that is a conversation that no one wants to have. A year later, on this day of memorial,
They wanted to go away.
Do you want? And I'd love for you to share what you said about the roster with the teacher.
Sure. Just that I had asked her if she believed that it was.
And this was a teacher at a
Yeah,
in Lahaina.
a local elementary school teacher. I asked her what she thought about the fire, and she said, well, she was awoken that early morning of August 8th to a sound that was unlike anything she'd ever heard in her life. It actually made her vomit, she said.
So there was a sound. It was at 1:00 in the morning
Mhm.
that this teacher in Lahaina
Came through her window.
So she heard this amazing sound, and she actually got sick from it. And it was the day of the fire.
So she knew from that point forward that there was something that had happened that was not just a wildfire. But I asked her about the school kids, and she said basically the moment they got back to school, their rosters were erased according to the students that were going to be attending. They didn't even have the names of the children that weren't part of the class anymore. I said, do you think the number's true? She said no. I said, how many do you think has passed? And she said, well, I know they were holding 800 bodies at the Civic Center. And then she said, I know they just found a bunch of bodies in that excavation process right over there by Taco Bell. And it's just like every day, if you sit and talk to somebody from Lahaina, there's a chance that you're going to end up in a conversation about how nefarious it is and how untrue it is and how this person knows this person and how these people picked up this many bodies. And I've been continuing to do a count that's in the thousands with this person who's picked up 150, this person who's picked up 86, 9, you know, and it just goes on and on, 300 plus. And I think what they're doing is they're doing something to the people. The NDA is fascinating to me, that if we would call this a wildfire, what in the world would you need NDAs for people? But the people say that they've signed these NDAs and we're told that eventually they'll be able to tell the truth. So somewhere inside them they believe that they are helping and that eventually they will be able to tell their truth. But that is not the case. I've noticed a lot of people telling me that they are going to these counselors, and I believe these counselors are just part of the FBI or whomever, to brainwash them into believing that what they saw they didn't see, and so just dummying down their truth. So that it's just, the town is just full of crap, and they're just cleaning it up so fast. And I know it's not fast for the people that have, that had homes there, but the lady last night, she has insurance, but her insurance isn't going to cover what it costs to rebuild, but she has the financial means to do so. But she's in a very small category. There were a lot of old Hawaiian families that owned their homes, and so they didn't have insurance. Maybe it was more of a shack type house, and it wasn't even insurable, so on and so forth. And then the oceanfront property already for many years has been, the shoreline has been deteriorating, and they're struggling to figure out how to save the oceanfront houses already, so they're not going to let the people rebuild right there. And if that's the case, will the other houses be moved back? And if that's the case, how do all those same houses fit? And they won't. And so who gets real permits and who doesn't? I think that will be, only time will tell. And if this was an active intention to make a smart city, then we don't know what their plans are long term. But I remember asking the attorney when I signed up for the lawsuit, because that is the way that people are getting some type of recognition, that at least Lahaina was, for years I've been watching the tourism come in, because I work in the tourist industry. They come in droves. They never stop coming in, and they don't know anything about the safety of the area. If Lahaina or Maui cared about the people, you'd get on the airline and you'd watch a 6-hour film about everything, about the history, how to be safe here. No, what we do is we let you get drunk on a plane, go rent a car that doesn't breathalyze you, and then you're on the roads with the families, and you're just in oblivion. You're just having your Maui vacation. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in Hawaii that I was thinking that same thing. I was on the airplane coming back from the mainland, and the only thing they have you do is fill out
your travel
some dumb form.
The form that you're not bringing anything into the islands. And I'm like, wow, at this time they could actually maybe have a bullet list of the things to know about the islands and what's important to the locals and how to bring it in. But I want to go back to the people that transitioned, and I say transitioned because I really feel in my heart this is some type of game that we're in, that we're playing in these spirits in a human body, and this is why it's so important to speak out and speak the truth, because when you leave your own body, are you going to look back and go, how did I play this game? Was I living in fear because I didn't want to say anything or rock the boat, or did I do what my heart told me to do? And two things. One thing I want to ask is about the captain, who we won't mention his name, but the people don't understand. Maui had a lot of undocumented workers here. Undocumented workers here that would come and work for the hot hotels. They're not counted in the death toll because they don't have their names. The FBI in the book that I wrote, Great Maui Land Grab, you can get it at greatmauilandgrabbook.com. It has a chapter that says the death toll bouncing ball, and it goes up and down. The FBI list was over 1,100 deaths. Unaccounted for people. And then the regular Maui police department list had like 100 and I think it was 115, it dropped to 97, went back up to 102. And but these undocumented workers, like you said, they stack themselves into these homes and they're not accounted for. And then the other thing is, you guys have a friend who's not coming forward, and he is a captain. And what did he say to you guys?
His cleanup was in the several hundreds. Essentially, the reason there was a no flight restriction over Hawaii in the following 2 weeks after the fire, they claimed it was to provide a safe environment to fight the fire, which was already put out. So the actual real reason for that is because they were doing a massive cleanup in Lahaina on bodies, and they were laying commercial fishing line out in the ocean. Because about after 24 to 48 hours, the bodies, if initially you sink and then you start to float. And they knew that they had literally 24 to 48 hours to do a clean sweep, because everybody was going to start noticing thousands of people floating in the water. And so they called people in to lay the fishing line and the fishing nets and actually catch people and put them into their boats to be confiscated by the Coast Guard. No one knows where they took those bodies. Maybe to the Civic Center. Maybe they took them to the Oahu Crime Lab. No one knows where they went.
Well, we feel like a lot of the bodies were stacked in those pods.
Yeah, they had they had mats and containers the week following the fire. They had 9 refrigerated mats and containers for portable morgues.
Where was that?
In Wailuku. I went down there to see it myself.
Our friend
was
had
guarded
said
by
that their uncle worked inside and said there was more than 3,000 bodies. So I asked the attorney when filing my papers, why is the death toll so low in quote unquote the greatest wildfire of all times in history? And he said that is because a dead body is worth $20 million and anyone can claim them, any relative. So the relatives would be claiming their deceased if they were alive. And I personally am a vacation rental cleaner here on Maui for the last 11 years, and I cleaned a house in Waikuli, which was one of the most densest neighborhoods that burned. And I can tell you, I personally saw the 20 or plus people that lived in that house. They all had bedrooms that were the size of their twin bed, and then a little closet for their items. And it was just one room after the next, after the next. So I know with my own eyes that these people really did live in there like that. In that industry, I saw girls come and go and men come and go that were there just doing some type of work, whether painting, this, cleaning. There's so many things in the industry behind the scenes for vacation rentals that and hotels that it's all the unseen people that do all the work, and they're from all over the world. Indonesia, Bali, Thailand, China. I mean, we really had people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And maybe they left their whole family behind and their family lives somewhere else and they can't claim them. They don't want to get involved. When people say, well, wouldn't the family speak out? It really is our belief that the family is deceased. The entire family. That whole family is burned up.
And you were saying something about aunties and uncles that people don't.
Yeah.
This is very common in Hawaii. It was. I remember the first time a little kid called me auntie.
Yeah.
My heart melted because
Yeah.
I'm not an auntie, and I was like, oh my god, I'm an auntie, and it felt so good. But that, everybody calls each other auntie and uncle. They don't actually know their names.
Yeah.
A good Hawaiian friend of mine said, we don't know if our auntie and uncle died in the fire. And I said, well, what are their names? We can look them up. And she said, we don't know their names. And she's 67, but her whole life living in Lahaina, born on Maui, she knew those relatives as auntie and uncle. They never had a name. We did end up cross-referencing and finding out through title whom, that they did make it. But there was so many of those type of situations where they just never got counted. There's no way on God's green earth that the toll is the number. They're saying the death toll is that number. It is a blatant lie, and that is why today is hard for me personally, as someone who was there that day. I watched the way they herded the people in. I watched what was happening. I got blocked in by police, and I believe those police were under such duress that their families would be harmed if they didn't follow the guidelines given to them. That it's so deep, and it's for a long-term plan. We finally started selling ocean because what's his name, Jeff Bezos in McKenna purchased actual ocean. I know they say he doesn't actually own the ocean, but his beach
essentially does.
But he basically does, because he's been able to.
He built a seawall
Yeah.
around his property in McKenna that goes all the way out into the water, and he created his own bay that's guarded with cameras.
And this is happening everywhere here on Maui. The elites love Maui. They want this place to themselves. If you look at Lahaina right now, you just drive around, you can see the billions of dollars that's coming. It's everything that's burned down is, the most primest real estate. It's all oceanfront. It's all viewable ocean from blocks away, and conveniently every historical site has been demolished. Where I particularly work, where they burned down the only historical part in there, it's like you'd almost think it was laser eye that got the building in the center, because so many of the houses remain on all sides that you just can't look at this and not think this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense. And I think the people are so desperate to get their lives back. And many people had to sign up with FEMA to keep their families afloat. And they don't want to be non-compliant. They want to follow the rules so they don't lose their housing or the money they may be being helped with.
Yeah.
They might have an entire mortgage to pay on a land that's empty. And where I work, they have association fees that they're still paying monthly. So there's a lot of money going out and not a lot of resources. There's, an industry has basically been demolished.
Yeah, and I want to say, there is a stand that we can take, and it is a lawsuit. The affidavit in the book, Great Maui Land Grab, again, you can get it at greatmauilandgrabbook.com. I have an affidavit that I've sent to the to the governor, to the attorney general, to many of the state representatives. But I'm from Big Island, so I don't have standing. So I know that there's people here on Maui that have lost their homes, that are in a position where they could actually do something, and that's why I pray, and we will be praying shortly, because if this, I feel this is a game, and I feel that the right people who hear this message and are ready to actually stand up and actually do something, which we can do, we actually have power to do something, the right people will show up, and that those that aren't in that position, it's okay. It's okay, because there are people just wanting food for their children, and just a roof over their head to keep their families safe. I totally get that.
Right.
And there's also people that do have standing and can do something, and I feel that that's each one of our kuleana, our responsibility here on this planet is to follow our heart, our guided intuition, to see what is ours to do, what is mine to do in this game. This is a game, because when we leave our bodies, we go into some other dimension that we look back, so if that's you can go to standtogetherhawaii.com, join that list. You can, my email is in the description, and if you're watching, please do like and subscribe, comment, and share, because I am getting shadow banned. Like, my subscriber list has stayed at this one number for months. So and I trust that too. This is going to reach whoever it needs to reach. The other thing I want to share about the death count is that the FBI list, and I'm not sure if I already shared this, but was over 1,100. They only counted people who had a first and last name, and the person who was giving the information, they had their first and last name. And again, we were talking about undocumented workers. They're not going to have a first and last name, and the person giving that information is probably maybe not even on island. So there's a lot of different questions around that.
And we also had a very large portion of homeless people. There was a lot of homeless people, and a lot of young people that left their families, stopped speaking to their families, moved here, and there was just a lot of people, and it was a really congested area. So for everybody to be able to get out in such a quick fashion, it just doesn't seem possible. Like our one friend, Tony, who passed, who worked at Badass Coffee right in Lahaina, healthy, young male, good person, beautiful man, just a lovely soul. Somebody like him, you would say, oh, he could have got out. He's healthy, he's stealth, he's young. People didn't get out. Not everyone just got out. It just did not happen. And
what blows my mind about that is the Front Street cars that were lined up. No doors were open.
no door.
If you're running from a fire, you're not going to close your door.
Yeah.
So something happened really quickly.
Yeah.
And the frog that I show in the book, there's a person with corn. He's dead on the body, charred body with corn rolls. You can see his hair. You can actually see the design of his hair. That's impossible. In a regular fire, the person burns from the outside in. These bodies burned from the inside out, and they were actually charred. And the reason is because the arborist that I interviewed, he said the chemistry of the fire didn't recognize the organic material. It recognized metal. So cars were literally, the windows were melted. Like how does glass melt? But a tree, the inside was burned because of the water, but not the organic material. And these cars on Front Street, all of their doors were shut and the people inside were disintegrated. Like that is like super, super high heat to do something like that. So this is definitely not normal. And then I do want to share one other thing about the military. You were taught, we do not have footage of this. We don't have footage of this, and this is secondhand knowledge. But you were talking about different drones in the clouds. I don't know if you want to share that or
Yeah,
not.
there's a lot of people that have been talking about what really happened and how the fire really started. And
I'm absolutely convinced that it was directed energy weapons amongst many other DARPA level layers of destruction. Like Michelle just said, that microwave technology, that's why everybody was boiling from the inside out. Just like a microwave evaporates the water out of your food. That's what they did to Lahaina. Wind manipulation, EMP, EMF. Literally every single thing I think that could have been deployed on Lahaina was used. And that was to just cause as much chaos as possible. And I've said it since the beginning. The Maui is like a petri dish, and Lahaina is an even smaller petri dish that they could cut off so easily from communications. This was a military level experiment. And just to circle back to what you had said about the lawsuit, there is, and to this day has not been, a criminal lawsuit filed against any of the people that are responsible, who's Josh Green, Maui Police Department, the Fire Department, Herman and Dye, FEMA, all of these people have not been faced with a criminal indictment, and they absolutely should, because they are responsible. And so if there is a homeowner that's listening to this, we have had a lawsuit that has been ready to be filed since last September. And the only thing we've been missing is a homeowner who's courageous enough to actually go and fight these criminals with us. So if anybody is listening to this and says, I want justice for the people who passed away, and I know what really happened in Lahaina, and I don't want this to happen again, and we're not going to do the bidding for these evil people. Everyone who's keeping a secret will be an accomplice at some point.
If you guys are watching this and you have an NDA, you will be an accomplice to this, because this was murder and this was an attack, not just in America, but on Maui and for these children and the people here. This was absolute murder.
I also talked to the attorney about these NDAs. They're null and void because the distress level that you were put under, it has no value. The paper is no value. But what I was also saying when I was talking about the tourism dollar was that in 2018 when Lahaina had a fire, it was kind of like a test fire. They didn't talk about the implements on the list that they didn't like.
They had come up with an emergency preparedness plan after the fire in 2018 that had burned down a partial section of Lahaina Luna. But it's completely predictive programming. Actually, the day that they decided to, they actually came up with this whole preparedness plan that they did not complete. They just didn't finish it. The day they decided to quit finishing it was 8/18/18. So 8/8/8. So that just circles back to what happened last year on 8/8. They were just predictive programming. They can't do any of this without our consent. And that's how the elites get away with this. We consent to all of this. They have to tell us beforehand what they're up to, and it's up to us to read between the lines. And that was just part of them consenting to the future destruction of Lahaina. And we're still consenting to it, by letting them get away with it. And what will happen to the other islands? What will happen to the world? They're doing this literally all over the planet. Everywhere. Canada, Mexico, California, Texas. I mean, how many places have been in a DO attack just this year alone? The elitists have no problem hiding in their bunkers while the world burns down and then coming out after.
and giving us
claiming
the
their
narrative.
land.
Yeah.
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 Um,
And I'm so sorry, I gotta jump
Yes,
in.
you gotta go.
You guys continue.
Thank you, Shelby.
Love you guys so much. Prayers to Maui.
did they say that one tourist passed?
Yeah, one.
Okay, so in a town where we get, I think, 1,000 people a day that come in,
Mhm.
only one passed in Lahaina?
One tourist.
One tourist? In a town they've never been in, or maybe they've been in, but they
In the
wouldn't-
most tourist dense
Yeah.
city in Maui.
Yeah, when there's only really two ways out, and they were blocking one and then barely opening another many hours later. Only one tourist that wouldn't have known where they were going anyway.
Mhm.
That just is like, it's
Mhm.
not even
That's not.
statistically possible, like Shelby said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is yes. Well, I just want to say thank you to both of you. And
Thank
Shelby's
you
son.
so much. Thank you.
And
Thanks for being here on this brave day, and thank you for going to Lahaina and
I'm passing
sending-
out books.
sending a lot of prayers to
Yeah.
people, and I just told a lot of heart for what's happened, and I just pray that that eventually the truth will set people free. I think the spirits that have been lost there, burned to death, deserve
Justice. They
justice.
they deserve the truth to come out.
An undocumented worker does not mean one
don't
less
matter.
God's child. These are all God's children. So we are all the same people.
Yeah.
So if we can't speak for each other, then who will?
Yes.
That's how it feels to me.
Is exactly right. And
Yeah.
you know, this reminds me of the Nuremberg Trial for Nazi Germany,
Mhm.
when they asked they asked him, how did you get people to comply?
Yeah.
And he said, if you get people afraid enough,
Yeah.
they will walk themselves into their own slaughter.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening, you guys, because if people stay silent, this is not going to end. People just go, oh, it's not happening to me, it's not happening
Yeah.
to my family. It is coming for all of us.
Yeah.
This is why in the book at the back it says, if you think this cannot happen to you, think again. So if you are a homeowner in Lahaina and you want to speak out, please email me. My email is in the description. You can get it at Michelle at Blossom Inner Wellness. Michelle at Blossom Inner Wellness is my email. I want to say thank you so much to Kona, the voice of Kona. This is also 100.5 FM if you're listening on the islands, on the Big Island, the Voice of Kona Radio. I want to say thank you to the sponsor of this channel, Ace of Coins. He's amazing. If you have any, want to lower your taxes and learn how to use the system against itself so you can be free, that's aceofcoins.com with John J. Singleton. Thank you so much for him. And Christy, thank you so much because
so
you
much,
guys are so brave. Like your story of your survival of it was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And yeah, you had to literally go around the cops and say, screw you guys, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I realized as a grandmother that day that then I was not being protected, and that the only person that was going to be in charge of my survival was myself. And I think that we're not meant to believe that. We are meant to believe that the authoritarian figures will protect us, care for us, and that people aren't really out to get you. But you don't have to look very far to realize that this is all the plan, and this is really happening. This is not conspiracy. This is just information.
Mm.
This is just what it is. Maybe the dates are conspiracy, like, that you think it's a lion's portal and all these things. That might be what a little out there for some people, but the real truth that we can all look at is that, a lot of things that were blue didn't melt. I just took a picture 3 days ago in the heart of the rubble of a plastic sign that was perfectly standing at Taco Bell.
The Taco Bell sign
Yeah.
still stands while the building behind it
gone.
is white ash.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
And-
plastic doesn't melt in a microwave.
And I drove through the town one day, and the coffee pot was still, we have a picture of the coffee pot inside the bank. The bank's building is blown out, and the coffee pot is sitting there with the Folgers plastic can. You just look at the anomalies, and they just don't add up. And that's why they locked us out. They didn't want people to look at everything. And they've done a really concise job of truck after truck after truck cleaning up that mess as fast as they can all
And they
day
found
long.
no bodies in the.
Even though everybody knows they found bodies, they don't want to stop the cleanup because it will cause a pause on people getting their permits, and everybody wants to move forward. So there's just a hush hush. Let's
clean up
not
the crime scene.
clean up the
as
crime
fast as we
scene.
can.
Let's keep getting paid. Let's keep everybody going forward so they can get their permits. But if this was intentional, is your permit really coming? Are you really getting back your home? How will it get rebuilt? There's too many questions. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, and my biggest thing too is how will you be able to live the rest of your life just knowing this is in the back of your mind, that you knew something was off, and those people who signed NDAs who are not coming forward. I could never have done that. Even if I signed an NDA, I would just say screw it.
Yeah.
I do not care what happens to me because this was so wrong. I mean, how many people have to be murdered in order for people to speak up?
Right.
So I just want to say that, and hopefully this video stays up. If it does, please share it, subscribe, and like, and comment, because I do read the comments. And I just want to say mahalo to you on your own journey, because you are also being guided. It's not a mistake you're here on the planet. It's not a mistake you're in the exact location you're in at this time in history. Each one of us has a kuleana, and maybe that's just sharing this video or just speaking about it, because the more of us that speak about it, the better.
Yeah.
So let's just finish with a prayer.
Yes, of course.
Great Spirit, infinite intelligence of all things, you know the truth better than any of us. And I'm just so grateful that you are having your guides and your angels speak to all of the people here on Maui and here and around the world, and just touching their hearts to do what is right, to do what is in their power to do what is their kuleana, their responsibility. And Great Spirit, we know that love is more powerful than fear, and our love for the people that were here and that transitioned, and our love for the children, for the keiki who transitioned out of the planet on this day a year ago today, we just ask that, we just know that they're in peace right now, that they're with you, Great Spirit, and we just ask for the courage of those people who can speak the truth, that they do what is right, not what is easy. And we know that you have our back, Great Spirit, infinite intelligence that is moving the sun, running the tides in the ocean, beating our hearts and breathing our body. Our bodies will return to the earth, and our spirits return back to you, back to an infinite source of love that we really can't understand being in a human body, but it's always around us. Christ's consciousness of love is always with us and throughout all of us. Every single moment of every single day, we are not alone. And Great Spirit, I just know that those people in Lahaina, that they just be guided to safety and to knowing just where they need to be in the world. And we get to watch. We get to watch as those that do not value human life, that they are peaceably removed from power, or that they voluntarily step down. And we get to watch as that unfolds, because the light has always been here on Maui, and it is shining brightly as it always has since the fire on Lahaina. The truth is coming out. It is not forgotten. Those people are not forgotten. They are with us. They are in our hearts. And Great Spirit, we just know that you know the true outcome of what is unfolding. And we get to watch as peace and truth and vitality and absolute unity of all people around the world in a just way unfolds now. And we get to watch it is done, and so it is. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo.
Hallelujah. God bless the truth.
Yes. Aloha, everyone.
Thank you.